That's what I'll say. Good evening and welcome to the April 22nd, 2025 Combined Work Scheduled Work Session and Regular Meeting of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. My name is Chad Brown. I serve as Chairman of the Board as well as the Commissioner of the Riverbend Township. I would like to welcome our viewers and thank Spectrum, Cable, and AT&T for making it possible for our citizens. For our television audience and live stream audience, I wish to present our Gaston County Commissioner beginning on my far right.
Good evening, Scott Sheehan, Gastonia Township.
Jim Bailey, South Point Township.
Good evening, Kathy Cloninger, Dallas Township.
Happy spring break, Bob Hovis, Crowder's Mountain Township.
And thank you guys and ladies for that. I will now ask Commissioner Hovis if he will lead us in the invocation, and Ms. Cloninger, Commissioner Cloninger will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you'll please stand, please. Let's bow. Father, we come to you tonight to take care of the business of the county. We're ever mindful of all the travel and the folks that are taking advantage of spring break. Father, be with them, be part of put your healing touch on their hands as they travel this busy highway season. Father, we especially want to recognize the fact that our lives are for your service, and we are for the service of Gaston County citizens. Father, we ask your guidance, your love, your wisdom as we make decisions on behalf of the county. We ask that in Christ's name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The April work session is now called to order. The first item on the agenda is proclamations, commendations, awards, and certificates. Now I ask Commissioner Kathy Cloninger to recognize today the 75th season of the Little Theater. So if someone is here from the Little Theater, if you'll please join Ms. Cloninger as she comes around to the podium.
Good evening. Whereas the Little Theater of Gastonia was founded in 1950 by visionary community members George Gray, Roger Greer, Jenny Rauch, Edith Ball, Catherine Groves, Pinky Spargo, Naomi Cunningham, and Enos Atkins, who shared a passion for the performing arts and a dedication to enhancing the artistic and creative culture of Gastonia. And whereas over the past 75 seasons, the Little Theater of Gastonia has become a cornerstone of the community, providing exceptional live performances of plays and musicals and captivating, inspiring audiences from Gastonia and the region. And whereas the Little Theater of Gastonia is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life for all citizens and has presented diverse and high-quality productions, including acclaimed performances of Sweetie Todd, The Diary of Anne Frank, The Lion, The Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Odd Couple, Sister Act, and Annie, bringing joy and thought-provoking storytelling to audiences to over 7 decades. And whereas the Little Theater of Gastonia is committed to accessibility and outreach by partnering with esteemed organizations such as the African American Museum of History and Culture, the Gaston County Public Library, the Gaston County Museum of Art and History, and the City of Gastonia, as well as offering scholarships, free events, workshops, and pay-what-you-can performances. And whereas through the youth-focused initiatives, including summer camps, a youth-approved troupe, master classes, drama classes, and the main stage productions, the theater is actively cultivating the next generation of artists and performers and has provided a platform for hundreds of local regional actors to bring the transformative power of live performances to our community and beyond. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners celebrates the 75th season of the Little Theater of Gastonia and encourage all citizens to recognize the historic milestone and the vital role that the Little Theater of Gastonia continues to play in enriching the culture, vibrancy of Gaston County and surrounding communities, to be adopted this 22nd day of April 2025. So Jennifer, you can speak.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Donna, our attorney over here, and our county manager. Thank you so much, and thank you, Kathy, for sponsoring this for us. I'm Jennifer Stepp. I'm the president of the Board of Directors of the Little Theater of Gastonia, and this is Shay Adams and Cynthia Kearney. They are both on the Board of Directors at the theater as well. We have a 11-member volunteer board, and we have worked very hard to make this theater a shining gem in our community. 75 years is a long time. As you know, the road for nonprofits is not often easy. Financially, it can become a hardship to keep something like that going for that long. So we're very proud of what others before us have done and we have tried to do. We encourage our community to come out and to support the theater. We've really worked hard to diversify our board and also our programming and have offerings so that it's truly a community theater that would serve everyone in our community. So we would love to have you come out. We do have coming up in the next couple of weeks, May 7th or 2nd. Yes, 2nd, that's a Saturday. That May 2nd weekend and that next weekend we have Puffs, which is a young adult performance with a few adults sprinkled in. But it is sort of a satirical perspective thing from the Hufflepuff's perspective, if you're a Harry Potter fan. And then we have some summer camps coming up this summer. We have Mean Girls with our older kids. We have 101 Dalmatians with our younger kids. We also have a special troupe that is doing Hadestown teenage version, which that's a big deal. That's just come out. We were one of the first to get that coming up. And then our main stage this summer is the Cabaret 1998 version. So we'd love to have you out. Our website's easy, littletheaterofgastonia.org. And again, thank you those who have come to support us, and thank you for recognizing us this evening.
I've made some personal changes to the agenda. I now ask Commissioner Hovis if he will now come to proclaim Animal Care and Enforcement Appreciation Week. So anyone involved in that, if you'll please come join Commissioner Hovis.
Captain Yancey's here and some other folks from the shelter Animal Care and Control Center. Make sure I'm politically correct or I will be walking home tonight because my license will be confiscated. Bring up here front. There you go. Oh, no, he might want to go home with me. We're very fortunate, and I'm very privileged to have been one of the commissioners who was a part of creating our new animal shelter. If you haven't been there on Wren Drive, I encourage each and every one of you to take 2 hours of your day and go by and visit our furry friends who are in our custody for hopefully a brief period of time. They will allow you to go out in their yard and walk the animals and become involved with them as much as you'd like. I had suggested this to our interim superintendent, Dr. Stephen Laws, and he and his wife went out there one day and had no idea of the facility that was there. I think they come on a regular basis. Some of y'all may or may not know them, but they come on a regular basis and they enjoy that, and they enjoy what we try to do for our furry, unenfranchised community. But with that, our proclamation today is to talk about last week. It was April the 13th through the 19th as Animal Care and Enforcement Appreciation Week. Whereas the care and safety of our community's pets and other animals is paramount, and whereas an animal is in need of prompt response of a dedicated animal care and enforcement officer and caring personnel is needed, and whereas the safety of our pets is dependent upon the quality and the professionalism of our animal care and enforcement personnel, and whereas animal care and enforcement personnel are often the first and most critical contact our citizens have with the animal care and enforcement services that the county provides. And whereas animal care and enforcement personnel are a vital link for our community and lost pets, animals in need, or animals presented at risk to the community. And whereas our animal care and enforcement personnel are a vital link for all of these animal-related services. Whereas our animal care and enforcement personnel have contributed substantially to the proper care, control, and treatment of lost pets and other animals. And whereas our animal care and enforcement personnel have exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in interacting with our citizens over the past year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners proclaims April the 13th through the 19th, which was last week, 2019, as Animal Care and Enforcement Appreciation Week in Gaston County in honor of the diligent and professionalism animal care and enforcement personnel have demonstrated in the care and custody of our community's pets and other animals. This is to be adopted the 22nd day, which is today, of April 2025. Thank you, folks. Nancy, thank you, sir. Thank you. And please speak. And anybody else that would like to speak, please. And I'm just about to.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Hovis. I appreciate the plug on volunteer. We will accept that if you want to come down. We have plenty of animals. I think I've mentioned it in years past. It can be a dog, it can be a cat in a stroller. Yes, we have that. So we appreciate the support that we get from the commissioners, from our legal staff, and from county management. And it continues to amaze me that the organization that we have does so well, not only from the support they give to each other, but the support we get from our community, from all of our volunteers, and definitely from our support staff in and around the county. I have to say it almost every time that we appreciate the support that we get from everyone. I always like to shout out to folks like the Public Works and Parks and Rec and County IT and Budget and Finance. All these groups work together to help us operate. And I also want to say what an honor it is to share this week. I guess I might be spoiling it, but this is also a recognition week for our 911 communicators. And it's an honor to share that week with them and be able to celebrate all of our staff that work so hard to really dig deep down into some very difficult situations. And they do it with such pride, and they do it with such love. And it's kind of rare to see in many different departments that we have. But these folks right here, they're the ones that really have a servant's heart, not only to their community, but to the animals that they serve. And it's just an honor to work with them, and I appreciate them, and I hope y'all can give them a hand. It's just some of them. There's more. But if y'all could give them a hand and thank them next time you see them, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Nobody else?
At this time, if the county police, Anderson Holder, Captain Robbie Waldrop, the sheriff's office, Chad Hawkins, and Chief Deputy Scott Wyatt, if you guys will please step up here at the time to proclaim the week of April 13th through the 19th, 2025, as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Any other telecommunicators in the room, if you want to step up, we'd welcome you as well. Y'all get paid more if you come closer. Whereas emergencies in Gaston County can occur at any time that require law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical services. And whereas Gaston County Telecommunicators are the first of the most critical contact of our citizens having with an emergency services. And whereas, when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of Gaston County law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of the law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from the citizens who are telephoning Gaston County 911 communication centers. And whereas Gaston County Telecommunicators are responsible for maintaining and operating dispatch systems, law enforcement, fire, and medical calls, as well as handling both emergency and non-emergency calls for service. And whereas Gaston County Telecommunicators are singly vital to the link for our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information, ensuring their safety. And whereas Gaston County Telecommunicators have exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance of their jobs in the past year. And whereas the second full week in April has been designated and set aside to be recognized as the public safety telecommunicators personnel and their crucial role for protection to life and property of Gaston County citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners proclaims April 13th through the 19th of 2025 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Gaston County. This is to honor the men and women whose diligent professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. This to be adopted on the 22nd day of April here in 2025. So I'll now ask whoever wants to come speak. Captain Walker? There you go, young man. Where's
I'm Captain Waldrop with the Gaston County Police Department, and I currently have the privilege of serving as the Director of 911 Communications. And first, I'd like to thank the Commissioners for recognizing our telecommunicators and the County Manager. Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank Chief Zeal for supporting our mission and giving us every resource that we need to be successful. And lastly, but definitely not least important, I want to say thank you to our telecommunicators. These are some of the most talented and caring individuals you will ever meet. And on a day in, day out basis, they answer the call for, it could be someone's worst moment, it could be the worst day of their life. And they take that home with them, they return the next day, and they step up to the plate and serve our citizens every day. And I am completely honored to be a part of their team because it is their team. And I think, it just says so much about who they are. So definitely, if you will join me in giving them a round of applause, they're awesome individuals.
Good evening. I as well would like to thank the county commissioners, county manager for recognizing these unsung heroes. These are the people you get to speak to on the other line, but you don't get to see the face. We're out working in the community constantly. We get praise for the most part, not always, but we get praise, but we get our meals paid for a lot of times. People come up and thank us, but they don't get to see the real folks that's behind the scenes, making sure that we're safe on a day-to-day basis. And just because they sit in that seat in a climate-controlled room don't mean they don't feel the stress, because they know that our lives are in their hands. So I greatly appreciate them. Thank you very much.
It's going to be a long time for me up here tonight, so y'all bear with me. I was at a baseball game, so I apologize for the dress. The next item on the agenda is to proclaim the month of April 2025 Public Health Month in Gaston County. I now ask Ms. Britton Kinney and anyone from the Public Health Director Office, please step forward. Looks like just me and you tonight, because Steve wants to sit back there and not do anything. Steve, welcome to the party. Come on, Steve. Think you're getting out of that easy. If I got to be here, so do you. No, you guys go up here. Whereas Gaston County Public Health workforce is a critical component to our emergency response and natural man-made disasters and widespread disease outbreaks in our county. Whereas public health measures to control and eliminate infectious disease, improve environmental sanitation, and promote healthy lifestyle practices have greatly improved with the health status and life expectancy of the residents of the county and all over North Carolina residents. Whereas public health plays a critical role in preventing chronic disease, injuries, resulting in improved productivity and decreased health care costs in North Carolina. And whereas Gaston County Board of Commissioners committed to continued emphasis on the prevention of public health and helping our county and all of North Carolina reach a better state through health actions outlined through the Healthy North Carolina Initiative 2030 objectives. And whereas communities, local health departments, employers, hospitals, and healthcare providers, individuals, families, insurers, county leaders, policymakers, faith-based communities, schools, and child care facilities must work together to identify and develop innovative solutions to healthy problems facing the people of Gaston County and its citizens. And whereas the Gaston County Board of Commissioners encourages all residents to recognize the public health is working to ensure that all residents are protected from threats such as pandemics, influenza, foodborne disease, injury, chronic disease such as diabetes, health disease, and asthma. And whereas the month of April to be designated as National Public Health Month, now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims the month of April 2025 as Public Health Month in Gaston County and encourages an observance by all of its citizens. The board further extends the deepest gratitude to the public health professionals who serve our community and our county each day. This to be adopted on the 22nd day of April 2025. Now, I will turn it over to Ms. Britton Kinney, who is the person who makes it happen with all those things that I mentioned, from food, airborne pandemics, influenza, injury, chronic disease, and diabetes, heart disease, and asthma. Thank you for coming as well. Thank you so much. Now we get to hear the real professional speak.
Thank you, Chairman. It truly is an honor to be the one standing up here. Unlike his remarks state, I am not the one who makes it happen. It is the team at Public Health. It's the 165 folks who are there every day protecting this community, making sure folks have access to health care who might not have it otherwise, doing all that amazing work, things that we'll never know about because of all of the work that they're doing. And that's what makes this especially meaningful when the board takes this opportunity to recognize our folks like you do every year and show us the support publicly. It truly means a lot. So thank you on behalf of our entire team for all of the support you're showing tonight and all of the ongoing support that you show us. Thank you.
I promise I am almost through. The next item is to proclaim April 25th as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Gaston County. Ms. Heather Kaufman and Emma Shepherdson, the Lighthouse, and Sergeant Lloyd from Gaston County PD will accept this award. Is that everybody? Sorry. Whereas children are our most valuable resource in Gaston County, and all children in our community deserve to grow up in a safe and healthy homes. And whereas child abuse can have a long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for its victims. And whereas, according to the National Children's Alliance, more than 11,000 children are abused each year in North Carolina. And more than 380,000 children are abused each year in the United States. Whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies are created, nurtured, and implemented through the strong partnership with the Gaston County Department of Social Services, the Lighthouse Children's Advocacy Center, Gaston County Schools, and faith-based community, and local law enforcement. Whereas the Lighthouse Children's Advocacy Center served 489 child victims of neglect or abuse in 2024. And whereas the community partnership and support, the Lighthouse Children's Advocacy Center continues to serve as a beacon of hope for families in the Gaston County, providing a place for healing and hope for children and their families. Now, therefore, Be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners proclaims the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and calls upon its citizens, community agencies, faith-based groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby strengthening the community in which we live. This to be adopted on the 22nd day of April, just April 2025. So I want to ask Ms. Heather Kaufman now to come up and accept it, but I want you to please, if you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about the hammers and when we gave those out and what that meant? Now we have the anchors that are doing different places. Could you just talk a little bit about how we're trying to keep community involvement and the things that we do? But thank you so much for what you do and your dedication to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board, for recognizing this month as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Also want to make sure I thank our multidisciplinary team, which is a large group of people that work day in and day out on investigations and support and provide healing for families that we serve. The board graciously supported a new build for us a couple years ago that was marked by a groundbreaking ceremony with hammers and some local groups that painted some shovels to really dedicate that donated land and the build upcoming to provide really just a place of hope and a place that we could kind of shine light on the issues, but also all of the healing that was going to happen in that building. So we are now anchored into that building, and we've been there a couple years and have continued to be able to build and grow the services and serve more and more children and families. So thank you to all of our community who does service projects, makes donations, shares information about us, advocates for the kids that we serve, and especially thank you to the families and children who allow us to serve them and provide them that healing and hope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Certificates of appreciation for public service. It is a great pleasure for the Gaston County Commissioners to honor citizens who have unselfishly given of their time, talents, skills, and energies in service as an appointee to one of our various boards or commissions. This type of service is the foundation for citizen involvement in our county government and is helping shape the future of our community every day. We gratefully acknowledge the work of these following individuals, and a certificate of appreciation is being forwarded to them. Holly Wall for her service on the Juvenile Crime and Prevention Council, Andrea Nixon for the Gaston County Library Board of Trustees, and Kevin Mayer for the Transportation Advisory Board.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is presentations, Community Investment Fund update and recap of the 2025 Go Bond Insurance issuance. Sorry, Mr. Doug Carter, Public Finance Advisor, DEC Associates. If you'll please step up, sir. Mr. Carter, welcome. Thank you again. And hadn't seen you in a while, so we keep seeing you on these momentous occasions when you're going to tell us good news, I hope.
Good news tonight. Mr. Chairman, members of the County Commission, Mr. Manager, thank you for the opportunity to be here and talk to you. We know we got a time limit. We're going to walk through it. I am impressed by all the things that you've done earlier today, though. It really speaks well for the community. Do we have this up?
Coming behind you, Mr. Carter.
There it is. I see it down the side. That's it. There you go. Thank you, sir. I'm going to start this off, and then I'm going to ask Andrew, who is my business partner, to speak to you about part of it as well. As all of you know, by living in this community, the county is experiencing a great deal of growth, both from a business perspective and from other perspectives. And the economy in particular has done very well and has continued to show Gaston as a leader in this area and has many things that are in its favor. And your staff has had the opportunity to speak about those things recently as we've worked to the issuance of the largest bond issue the county has ever done. We've all worked together to try to place capital investment in a special place inside the county. And a number of years ago, this commission established a community investment fund, a fund that separately receives revenue dollars. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, and isolates or separates capital improvement dollars from operating dollars. We just see that as such an important element of what you've done as a Board of Commissioners and the staff. You have strong credit ratings. You have a AAA credit rating from Moody's, who is the oldest of the credit rating agencies, and a AA plus from S&P. And then we're going to discuss a little bit later, review some of the things your management efforts have been and how those have had impacts on that rating. We're also going to talk to you about your community investment fund and the debt affordability calculations inside that fund, and speak to you a bit about how much capacity you have for future projects. So what we're going to do by the presentation is talk a little bit about the recent bond sale and the efforts of your county staff to support that sale, talk about capacity inside the fund, and then talk a little bit about future decision process. Andrew?
So, the good news on the sale. We went out on April the 8th to do the sale for the approximately $190 million, which is what the GO vote, the remaining GO vote from 2018 for the schools were. And we were able to get an all-in cost, including all the costs, just at a 401. We tried really hard to get that to a 399, but just couldn't quite get there. But a 401, great rate for 20-year money for the school system. That was during a relatively interesting time in the market. And so I think it was a very good indicator of the strong ratings and the investors who wanted to invest in the county. It was a great rate at the time. Of course, our CIF, the model that Doug talked about, we had been looking at about 5% interest rate. So we definitely beat the what the model was looking at. So it's gotten a little bit healthier from what we were looking at before. And that's our goal, is to always come back with better news after the sale, to be conservative in our assumptions, so that when we say we can do certain projects, you all feel very confident that we can do that within the monies that we have. I really want to impress upon everybody that in the process of issuing these bonds, we have to go out and get our ratings refreshed from the two major rating agencies that you are rated from, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, and/or S&P is what they're called. We made a trip to New York to be in-person meetings with both of these rating agencies, and that's very important when you're really going to look at improving your credit rating. Currently, you have the highest possible rating that Moody's gives out, so that's a AAA. That's the moniker that we're going for. We're constantly looking at chasing that AAA for here in the county. S&P has been a little slower than we would like, but we've done a lot of these meetings. We've gone to New York with many clients and others, and I can't impress upon how well your staff did. We heard nothing but such positives from S&P and Moody's on how well they did in the presentation, and I really wanted to point that out. Obviously, the county manager was up there, Scott Attaway, the Financial and Management Services Director, Kyle Sutherland, your Finance Officer, Justin Amos, the Director of Intergovernmental Relations, and of course, Donnie Hicks, the Economic Development Director. They were all there, and I could not stress enough how well of a good job they did to get those ratings. So, our next, unfortunately, S&P didn't quite get us there this time. What I would say to that is everything that the county commission can control and management can control, y'all are operating on AAA. S&P wants to see some of the economic and financial factors of the county to grow a little bit, and we believe that's only a matter of time. The family median household income, the assessed values, they're all trending in the right direction, and we believe it's only a matter of time for S&P to give y'all that AAA. The last thing I'd like to say as far as the ratings and the bond sale is, although we do have that split rating, the AAA and the AA plus, we don't believe that that had much effect on the interest rate that y'all would have gotten in that day. So people really look to that Moody's AAA rating.
Andrew, I might say one other thing as a part of good news. We all know markets have moved lately. If we had sold your bonds today instead of 2 weeks ago, the rate would have been closer to 475. So I think you got to compare when you were there and what's happening since to talk about the good timing you had as well. So it saved a lot going when you went and having such positive results from the institutional investors who were the primary purchasers of that $190 million worth of bonds.
Yeah, so it was a great time. We couldn't be more happy with the sale. And of course, what goes into those ratings, as we see here, is not just management. Obviously, it's the county commission who gives their direction and their priorities in setting the budget and the direction we get from the board. So it's a hand in hand. As I said before, we are operating as a AAA, and we just need to get Moody's to drag us across that line at this point. So what we'll do here next, we're going to look at the CIF and the debt affordability. We look at many scenarios through the years. If you'll see, we meet with staff multiple times. There's lots of different scenarios. You know, you might have an A, B, C, D, E, F, G on looking at different scenarios for these models. Reviewed a number of times with staff, and of course, we come to you a couple times a year. Just what we're doing today is to update you on the sale, how the model looks, and what the current capacity is. So I'll turn that over to Doug to talk about the model.
Let me just say, because I think Andrew has made a really good point of how you operate and at what level you are. We have the great benefit of being financial advisor to some of the biggest issuers in the state, one of them next door. And when you look at the kind of planning and affordability modeling and debt capacity analysis, the number of times per year that your professional staff is involved, this county commission deserves credit. We talk about on the previous slide what has happened since March of 2024. Every year since we've been working on looking at these kinds of financial planning initiatives and how best to spend your money, the county commission has consistently been involved. And it's important to have that involvement both at the policy level and obviously at the management level. And I'll say to you one more time, you compare very well to some of your larger and more sophisticated folks who are around. And you've done very well for yourself. Inside that CIF, an affordability model operates. Because the CIF, the Community Investment Fund, I'll just shorten it to letters, receives revenues that are primarily contributions from the general fund and all of the sales taxes that have to be set aside by state law for capital improvements, investments in the public schools. And so that fund receives all of those funds as the resource to that fund. And then out of those resources, we, of course, have all of the debt service that the county currently has, that it owes, what we just sold, the $190 million, and, of course, what is potential new debt inside that model. And so basically, it operates as a revenue and expenditure comparison and how you use excess revenues when they're created to give you additional debt capacity. You currently send to this fund approximately $17 million from the general fund. That $17 million funds general government debt and a portion of the school debt because its debt is larger than the money that comes in from the sales taxes. In 2023, it was lowered by $7 million, that $17 million, and the primary purpose for doing that then was to remove any use of fund balance inside the general fund to make the general fund supportable from its revenues and expenditures without that support. We've spoken to you about this before, and we'll say again, there's a potential need to restore that into the future so that we can look at future capacity. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what you have in current capacity out of the $17 million and what some projects out there that have been at least talked about. Right now, inside your model, there's currently a capacity of between 125 and 150 million in the next 5 years. Now, Mr. Chairman, we've said this to former commission members, and we know there are a couple of new folks. We're very conservative inside the planning for your model. Your management has said to us we can't ever show up and say, oops, we were too aggressive with the numbers, and now all of a sudden there's not enough money left in that fund to pay the debt service. And so we use conservative assumptions to come to that 125 to 150 million. But the thing that I'll say to you first and foremost about this model is timing is everything. As an example, because the staff, in working together with schools and other, have done a really good job in bringing that $190 million to be issued towards the latter period, so that if we had issued that debt earlier, we would have less capacity now. So a really good job was done in looking at that timing and how that timing worked, and we'll continue to look at it on that basis. Now, several projects we've all talked about that are out there for consideration. We simply make a listing for you. There's discussion of jail expansion, a public safety campus, the county schools' potential needs, given that their earlier authorization is now extinguished by the sale of this last $190 million in bonds. And then there's also had been some discussion about the Gaston College needs, and I'm sure there may be others out there. So if you look at 150 as the maximum potentially inside that model, obviously, as the board, the policy members adopt priorities and choose and select from the project needs, there'll need to be additional discussion about timing and how we contribute to additional revenues into the Community Investment Fund to pay that debt service. And then finally, I think, as we all know, when you start with a CIP, you start with the CIP before you get to the Community Investment Fund. There'll always be a process for you to look intensely at the individual projects, the timing of those projects, the estimated cost, and how all of that will fit within a financial plan that has you funding those capital projects that you have found are worthy of funding and meet the needs of the county. And that might well, as I said just a few minutes ago, cause us to look at sources to fund additional revenues to the Community Investment Fund to potentially meet some of those needs. I'm looking at my watch so that I'm doing the time, so I'm moving to the last slide, and I'm here to, we wanted to get through in 15 minutes or less, but we're here to answer whatever questions you might have about this.
Sorry, I was writing down my obligations for your oops. First of all, thank you guys for what you do. You've really been a credible resource for what we're doing. I know that over the past years, you brought a lot of knowledge to this board, of which we probably needed for some of the words that you use and how we're going for. But you guys have helped us and been a great resource. I want to say that first of all. Are there any questions from the board at this time? I have one question. Commissioner Hovis.
How many other counties in North Carolina have achieved a AAA rating?
5 or 6 or 7.
Thank you.
That means all counties that have all AAA credit ratings.
Correct.
And they're the ones you would guess.
Any other questions from the board at this time? Doug, I want to take a second, like I said, to talk about thank you guys, but I know a lot of people during the meeting that we had when you guys came in, and obviously, you guys got a chance to go up to New York with Matt and the staff. We are taxed here with something, an obligation to find resources. We are also tasked with trying to find better ways to long-term look at things. So I want to talk to not just to Doug, I want to talk to everyone here. We have many departments that we look at every day, and we don't get an opportunity to talk as you and Matt get to talk and staff get to talk every day. We get it basically once a year for the time that we have for the budget season. So I wanted to reiterate the things that you said. We're looking long-term. We're trying to find ways to, we have to fund a jail project that's probably going to come. Matt, price tag over $100 million. We have to fund schools that go on, which we're doing now with the bonds that we're obligation to right now. But we also have a commitment to what we're looking at as ourselves. So when we talk about a lot of things and we banter back and forth, I want everybody in this room to know that the manager still has not presented a budget to this board. Nothing is in stone. Nothing has even been given to this board other than the banter back and forth that we push, and Doug has been a big part of that for long-term success. For short-term success, what we have to do, we get an annual year that we have to figure out things. So I want everybody in this room to understand, when you hear things talk about libraries, Hope United, the Survivor Networks, the libraries again, different entities that we have throughout. These are ideas that are pitched to us that we have to try to figure out how we can do things, how we can better serve ourselves. I'll give you a good example because I want everybody to understand. I want to do it during your time, I'm sorry, just so everybody can understand, so I can't do it the other. But when the libraries came up, this was something because if you guys remember, back in the 70s and 80s, we got outran with technology. Technology outran us to where we had maybe a 4th or 5th grade education in the mills, and it was time. So when we talk about the libraries as using them as resource centers, we're not trying to say we're going to cut them out and just X-nay them all. That's not what we're here for. That's not what our board is intent. But if we didn't try to find ways to better programs, better successful, set our citizens up for future involvement that happens, if we wanted to put something in, I use it as an example, we in our meeting, I was the one who's talking about, because I'm the chairman. I'll do all the talking, basically. I have a lot of people here who like to speak. But I say that because I want people to understand Mount Holly and Belmont are less than 3 miles apart from each other. That was not to say that they're not worthy of what in your community is not worthy. This board has never said that. This board wants to make the best of our resources because Doug has to put a big picture. This board has to put a small-term picture. So I want everybody to understand that when the Gazette writes something, you notice she ain't here tonight. She comes and sits in a meeting where she can get a little tag for her to be able to put out there to make every one of you come in here and go crazy. So I want to say that to you, that this board is taking every resource we have to make sure that we provide you guys with the best for your money. That's what I want to tell you. I take that time because I'm not going to get a chance to talk during citizen recognition. We don't get to speak back. But I wanted Doug to be here to hear it. I wanted Matt to be able to hear it because our staff works their tail off every day. You two met yesterday? You met today? I met last week. Miss Kathy's already met. Commissioner Fraley is meeting this week. We are working our tails off to make sure that we provide the best services for you. I guarantee you, everybody in this room says, my taxes are so high I can't see straight. I try. We try every day to make sure that you have that opportunity to see that. And Doug helps us do that. So I'm taking a little bit of what you're doing because we went to Moody's in New York. We got a AAA bond rating. Then we went to Dun & Bradstreet. That's who the last one? S&P, whoever went to. We went there again to try to get this rating because that helps our bond rating for the school bonds. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if the sheriff's still here, but our jail, pretty full. It's going to cost $100 million just for expansion of that. And that's today's number. That's not whenever we get the chance to do it number. So I'm thankful for what you guys get to do, but I want to say it publicly to where the public knows when they hear you speak, you're talking long term. When they hear Matt speak and this board speak, we're speaking year to year, how we can best serve you, how we can do things. I want everybody in this citizenship to know that this board last year, we went revenue neutral. I couldn't tell you another municipality or anybody who did that. I'm not calling anybody out because they're in the room. I'm trying to say it I want people to know. We did our part. If you want to see something, go to your municipalities, tell them why can't they go revenue neutral and take your tax dollars to hand. Because everybody wants to blame this board. But I tell you this, I'm tired of fighting with everybody about what happens in this room because the Gazette can write what they want to write. Notice their viewership and their censorship. You can't even read it online. You get to see parts of it. She ain't even here tonight. But I promise you this, we're here. If you have a question, call me. Don't email me, don't write me, call me. I'll answer every one of them. Because I want you guys to know what this board means and what we're doing here to make sure that this satisfaction is taken care of, because we look long-term, we look short-term success, and we're going to look it straight in the face. So thank you, Doug, for coming.
Sure.
Matt, do you have any questions? I know you guys talk all the time, but thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry for my tirade. The next item on the agenda is, we're just going to go ahead and, this concludes the rescheduled work session for tonight. The regular meeting will convene immediately after this. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please please remit those to Donna S. Buff, 704-866-3196. I will now call to order the April regular meeting. We're going to go into public hearings as item number 1. The commission will take citizens' comments on 6 public hearings. The comments will be taken on the following issues: Conditional District REZ-192, Conditional District REZ-204, Conditional District REZ-206, Amendment to the Carolina Thread Trail Master Plan and Maps. EDC authorize the Gaston County to participate in the Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure, CPACE, program. Also, EDC to incentivize Project Nexus. Before we begin, let me outline the rules of procedure for the hearing tonight. Citizens wishing to make comments will be recognized by the chair, then requested to step to the microphone for their comments. Citizens will state their name and address for the record. Citizens' comments tonight will be limited to 3 minutes. All questions shall be directed toward the chair for a response. The chair shall rule on all points of order during the hearing. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing? So moved. Motion made by Commissioner Hovind, seconded by Commissioner Cloninger. All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. We are now in public hearing. The Gaston County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing, Conditional District REZ-192, Century Communities Southeast LLC applicant. The hearing was continued from the last meeting in March. Ms. Jamie Kimberlew, the Director of Planning and Zoning, Building and Development Service, will now provide a brief recap of her situation. Ms. Kimberlew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. REZ-00192 is a conditional rezoning request that was continued at last month's board meeting. This is a request from Century Communities LLC for a total of 9 parcels located between Evans Lake Road, Dallas Stanley Highway, and Kaiser Dairy. The initial site plan presents a residential development consisting of 138 single-family lots. At last month's meeting, questions were raised in regard to the proposed lot size, the existing ponds on site, and architectural requirements. Staff did meet with the applicant's team to review possible options, and they are here this evening for any questions that you may all have for them.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions on this from the Board of Commissioners? I have one, Ms. Kimberlew. I know that our last meeting we asked for a minimum lot size starting at 10,000 square feet. I think that the board has looked back and recognized that as 15,000. Does the applicant wish to adhere to the 15,000 foot? I just wanted to, because there's a lot of them on here. Like I said, we just got this today.
Could I just clarify, what are you guys looking at? Okay, that was in case I needed to speak tonight. So with the change that you are looking at making from now to a 15,000 square foot lot, we would like to request this to be continued to now June meeting. So we have time to look through what a 15,000 square foot community would look like.
So the 15,000 square foot community on that, because like I said, we've already had all the discussion back and forth. There's a lot more. It's not just that. So
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
that was the first part, because I know that on this, just my brief reading skills had 8,000 square feet.
Yes. So we have, we
so-
have multiple options we were looking at. We were looking at 10,000, we were looking at 8,000 as a compromise. But now with going to 15,000, we'd like to.
But we told you at the minimum, it was going to be 10,000 at the last meeting.
Correct, and we did look at 10,000.
Was that visible? Was that a possibility?
We were still in the middle of evaluating that, which we have not finished evaluating that.
If we continue, we keep kicking this can down the road, we get in here and this clogs up. But my job is to just make sure this board runs seamless. We're all the same people as when it comes to that. So I'm just going to go through a few of the quick ones. That way we'll see if you guys still want to do it before I move into this. So we had a 15,000 square foot lot size. We had a no slab on grade construction, no vinyl siding, minimum 2-car garages, side load. And like I said, those were just to lay a few out. And like I said, we thought that a lot of this had been transported, but like I said, we asked for this and we get it today. This is not, it's just not the board really doesn't accept that as far as saying, hey, we get it today, so we get to look at it 5 minutes before the meeting, and now all of a sudden, we got to make a decision on it. So I'm going to ask you, and whoever, I don't know, if you want to take 5 minutes to look at it real quick and say, hey, these are here, just some preliminary precautions. If that there doesn't go, we can, yes, sir, Brian.
Could you push this for just a moment? Let me have a moment to speak with him.
Yes,
I
we'll
believe-
go
I
to
believe
the
there's a
next one, I'll
solution.
come back. Is that okay?
Yep.
Madam Clerk, you okay with that? Okay, go ahead, Brian. We'll go to the next one. Sorry about that for the people who are in the audience. The County Commission will now take citizens' comments on public hearing, conditional district REZ-204, J. Oliver applicant. Ms. Jamie Camberlou, the Director of Planning and Zoning, Building and Development Service, will provide a brief overview. Once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Camberlou.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. REZ-00204 is a conditional rezoning request from J. Oliver for parcel ID 1540004, which is the site of the Crowder Springs Day Camp. The property is owned by Now Outreach, Inc. The existing conference, retreat, and event center uses will remain. The uses were established in 2020 with the issuance of a zoning permit for a camp and retreat center. This conditional rezoning request is specifically for the addition of specific building types and to limit the allowed uses on the property. The subject site is located in the southwest portion of Gaston County, in between Kings Mountain and the city of Gastonia. The 2023 orthophoto map shows the existing conditions of the site. You can see a large buffer is in place for the site. The internal roads and access paths are already established, and there are several buildings already on site. All required zoning permits and building permits have been obtained by the property owner. The applicant approached our team when he came across park model cabins that could be used on site. Park model cabins are technically classified as RVs, and since the UDO restricts RVs to the camping and recreational vehicle park use, and this use is only allowed with the issuance of a special use permit, staff recommended that the property owner go through the conditional rezoning process to add this use to the property. This area is just outside of the city limits of Gastonia, which is the gray area shown on this map. There are residential, commercial, and industrial zoned areas throughout the vicinity. This map shows who I was notified with information about the public information meeting and tonight's hearing. Notices were mailed out and a sign was placed on the property, all in accordance with local and general statutes. Staff has not received any calls about this request, and no residents attended the public information meetings. This is the contact information for the parcels highlighted on the previous slide. The site is served by a private well and city sewer services. Linwood Road and Misty Lane are municipal streets, and then all roads within the site are considered private roads. The project was sent to our technical review committee, and staff received the following comments. GEMS did not have any issues so long as the cabins are clearly marked and identified. Police and Natural Resources shared that they did not have any issues or comments on the request. The GCLMPO provided their standard comment letter. There are no funded projects in the immediate vicinity on the STIP, the MTP, or the CTP. The CTP does show recommended pedestrian bicycle improvements along Linwood. This isn't an unfunded project. It also shows recommended multi-use facilities along Crowder's Creek, but this is also unfunded. Our building inspections plan reviewers shared that the building code does not restrict park model RVs. It just restricts them from being permanent buildings. Building inspections will inspect water, sewer, electrical, and site accessibility. However, the structures themselves, since they are classified as RVs, are not subject to the building code. From a zoning standpoint, the proposed structures will be allowed if the rezoning request is approved. This site is located in Area 5 of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, which is the Scenic Gaston/Southwest Gaston Small Area Plan. Key issues for citizens in this area include the preservation of open space, road improvement and better connectivity to other areas of the county, more transportation alternatives, the preservation of agriculture and maintaining the rural feel of the area, and steering development towards existing infrastructure and the areas immediately surrounding towns and cities. The future land use designation for this area is rural, and this slide is also showing you a rendering of what the park model cabins would look like on the outside. The applicant did hold 2 public information meetings on March 27th and 28th. Staff assisted with scheduling and coordinating of the public information meetings, and they were advertised as required by the UDO. Aside from one planning board member who attended the public information meetings to gain more information on all cases being presented that month, no other neighbors or residents attended. A copy of the site plan is in your agenda packets. Minor changes were made to the existing site plan that was already on file for the overall approval of the site. This slide also shows a rendering of what the inside of the park model cabins could look like. Our understanding is that these can be customized so the interior may change. This is the site plan accompanying the rezoning case. New uses and structures will still need to obtain zoning and building permits the same way the applicant has been obtaining them so far. The site plan is designating some tree-safe areas as well. However, the main request of the application is to be able to use the park model cabins instead of site-built cabins. Through this process, the applicant is also requesting to restrict the allowed uses of the property to the following uses: a summer camp and retreat center, sporting facility, amusement park, camping and recreational vehicle park, church, miniature golf, paintball, laser tag facility, small house community, and special events facility. As far as applicable UDO sections, this is the only section that applies to the current use. Because new uses are being requested and a condition of approval is that all supplemental regulations for uses be followed, we're not so much asking for reliefs, but narrowing down the allowed uses and ensuring that park model cabins are allowed on site. A copy of the staff recommended conditions can be found in your agenda packets. However, I will read them for the record. All current and future uses shall meet the supplemental regulations outlined in the UDO at the time of permitting unless otherwise approved through this request. The following uses shall be considered uses by right, so long as all supplemental regulations are met at the time of permitting. Those uses are the conference, retreat, and event center, summer camp, retreat center, sporting facility, amusement park, camping and recreational vehicle park, church, miniature golf, paintball, laser tag facility, small house community, and special events facility. Park model cabins shall be approved structures on site and may be placed in the designated areas shown on the site plan as approved for the purpose of this rezoning. Areas designated as tree-safe areas on the site plan shall not be developed. A 100-foot natural buffer from all property lines shall be maintained at a minimum of all times, unless already existing and developed at the time of this request. Staff does recommend approval of this request as it would keep the existing use the same and allow for accessory uses in the future. It also allows the property owner to utilize different and more affordable building types. The use meets the goals of the comprehensive land use plan as it preserves existing natural resources and provides opportunities for collaboration and recreation within the community. The Planning Board unanimously recommended approval of this request at their March 31st meeting, as they found it to be reasonable and in the public interest. They also found it to be consistent with the goals of the comprehensive land use plan. As with all conditional rezoning requests, staff is asking that you receive our presentation, the Planning Board's recommendation, along with any information provided by the applicant. We also ask that you either approve with modifications, or deny the request. Mr. Chairman, this does conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any comments from the applicant at this time? Any citizens wishing to comment on this issue? Any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Mr. Bailey?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had one, you went through a lot of the uses of the property.
Yes.
And I have seen a lot of in the past when they talk about RV parking. You said it had some RV parking. What's the limits on that? Because I have seen some areas to where it's become a permanent RV park, and then people don't want to go there.
Right. So currently, the way that this project is proposed is the cabins that you see on the slides are what are being considered the RVs. There are a certain number of spots that are shown on the site plan, so they wouldn't be able to do more than what's on the site plan. But I don't think this is the intent for it to be like traditional RVs. That could be allowed with how it's currently written. So if you would like to modify the conditions, we can do that. But right now, it's mainly just for these cabins being classified as the RVs.
I would like, I mean, from what she said, I would have an idea to maybe request that.
I don't think that, we have no problem with that. We can add that in if we need to. I don't think there'll be none. The applicant doesn't have a problem. You good with this? Commissioner Hopes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there anything in our current regulation that would limit the stay of an individual in any of these rental units? The reason I say that is because we can have some long-term concerns, and the long-term concerns is kind of like the hotels. We've
Right.
had those hotels pop up, and they became long-term, rentals, and all that went south and all that's gone away. We don't need this particular development to find itself into that. Have we put any kind of a condition in terms of the individual, they're able to stay for 30 days and be out for 2 weeks and back again for 30 days so that there's a requirement as in some of the long-term campground programs?
So we don't have anything in there right now as it's written. There are some regulations in the UDO, and I think even building code possibly, that regulate how long these can be on site or
Occupied.
used. Yes, sir.
I'm just saying that was the only concern that I would have.
Any other questions from the board this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and finish it up. We'll go 10 days, 10 days, no RVs on the property.
Do you mean traditional RVs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that way we have that. That way 10 days, that way if you have anybody over 4, something happens, a day or so is fine, but I don't think you want anybody out there 10 days anyway. I did get to go out and visit the property during this, and it's a ministry project. It has nothing to do basically with stays for long-term. This is more of a summer cabin where they have so many people coming in. They have zip lines. If you remember, back during the winter, they had the chutes out there. So they're basically recreational activity driven for kids and youth during the summer. Mainly, I would say, some of those pictures are picturesque, some of those nice views you had back there. But didn't see those when I was out there. But no, I'm very well aware of this project. I think it's something that this board really doesn't have anything to, but if that's what you want, I mean, he'll adhere to whatever we really need to put out there, because he's doing it for his summer recreation ministry as well as that wintertime, maybe, no longer than 4 days, he had told me when we looked out there. So if that's okay with the board, we'll put 10 days, no recreational by use, and that way. Any other restriction, anybody wish to look at that? Just to recap, excuse me.
It was me, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that the applicant goes on record saying that he was okay with the conditions.
Jubilee.
Most of our stay in the June through August is 4 nights, 5 days. Then we host retreats throughout the year with church groups, sororities, other nonprofits, foster camps, things like that. So we can say I'm mutual with the 10 days, but need to say 10 days staying, not RVs, because these are going to sit there. So we're not going to move these out, move them back in. So
This is on staying days there, so
yeah,
that way you.
consistent days. Yes, that's fine.
Consistent occupancy.
Again, 4 nights, 5 days is the most anybody stays.
One of the commissioners may want to come out and stay 10 days.
Y'all come on.
But,
Yes, I
Jamie,
agree.
is that good enough for you right there? Just to recap, the planning board unanimously recommended this for approval with those 2 conditions, and you have those ready as well as we go, so we'll go ahead. Is there a motion to approve with those 2 amendments? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Okay, we'll wait. The county commission will take citizens' comments on public hearings, conditional district REZ 206. Christopher S. Long, applicant. Y'all threw me a curveball. Is that Lisi?
That's right.
Hey, look at there. Planner 1, Building and Development Services, will provide a brief overview. Once she has completed her comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Ms. Lisi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. REZ 25-01-17-00206 is a conditional rezoning request for parcel ID 146345 on Southside Church Road. The applicant and property owner is Christopher Long, This request is to conditionally rezone from the C3 General Commercial Zoning District with urban standards and corridor highway overlays to a conditional district R2 Single Family Moderate Zoning District with urban standard and corridor highway overlays. The property is located southwest of Gastonia off Highway 321. The ortho photo shows the .41 acre vacant parcel surrounded by a mix of industrial, commercial, and residential uses. The residential uses are existing and non-conforming. The zoning map shows the subject parcel is zoned C3 with US and CH overlays. The white sections of the map are Gastonia's zoning jurisdiction. This map shows who was notified for tonight's public hearing. Notices were mailed and a sign was placed on the site on April 9th, all in accordance with general statutes. This list shows the information of those that received the mailed notices. The proposed site plan shows one residential structure on the lot. This table shows the area of relief in the minimum lot square footage. R2 zoning district requires a minimum of 30,000 square feet, and the existing lot is 17,860 square feet. The site will be served by private septic system and either Two Rivers water or a well. This parcel is located on Southside Church Road, which is a public right-of-way. The Gaston, Lincoln, Cleveland MPO reviewed this project on March 21st and identified no funded transportation improvement projects in the immediate vicinity. The Gaston County TRC reviewed this project on Friday, March 21st, and had no comments at this time. The applicant advertised and held 2 public information meetings as required by Section 5.16.5.b of the UDO. The meetings were held on March 27th and 28th from noon to 2 p.m. in Conference Room 3A of the Gaston County Administration Building. No residents attended either meeting. While reviewing this request, we have provided a list of recommended conditions for approval for your consideration this evening. For the record, these conditions are minimum lot size of 17,860 square feet. Any uses allowed in the R2 single-family moderate zoning district would be permitted in accordance with standards and regulations as adopted in the Gaston County Unified Development Ordinance. Accessory structures are permitted in accordance with Section 9.9 of the UDO. Minor modifications are permitted in accordance with Section 5.15 of the UDO. The application, as presented, is not consistent with the goals and the future land use designation found in the comprehensive land use plan. However, staff is still supportive of this request due to the existing residential structures in the immediate vicinity. The Planning Board heard this request at its April meeting on March 31st and recommended approval by a unanimous 8-0 vote based on the following. It is a reasonable request and in the public interest, and although inconsistent with the goals of the comprehensive land use plan, the proposed residential use aligns with existing structures and uses on this street. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you or the board may have, and the applicant is also here this evening if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any comments from the applicant at this time? Seeing none, any citizens that wish to comment at this time on this issue? Seeing none as well. Any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. Just to recap, the Planning Board has unanimously recommended approval. Do I hear a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? It is approved, ma'am. And I apologize earlier. Mr. Goldberg, if you could please give the consistency statement for both items so far.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. The County Commission will now take citizens' comment on public hearing to approve the amendment Carolina Thread Trail Master Plan for Gaston County communities to add to the Stowe Connector Trail. We're going to turn it over to Commissioner. If I don't get back,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to amend the Carolina Thread Trail Master Plan to include the 1 mile Stowe Connector Trail. The applicant is the Carolina Thread Trail, and the subject trail sits on the Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden properties. Carolina Thread Trail staff approached Gaston County Planning staff a few weeks ago regarding this amendment. They shared that the Daniel Stowe Botanical Garden has been undergoing strategic changes to maximize the property as a multi-age destination for the greater Charlotte region, including planning and implementing several new trails on the property. The amendment request this evening includes the section highlighted in yellow. The proposed 1 mile trail amendment begins at the Persimmon Trail intersection off the Duke Kimbrell Trail and travels to the main garden parking area. Daniel Stowe intends to rename this loop as the Stowe Connector Trail. The Carolina Thread Trail Executive Committee approved the amendment on February 19th. This amendment also went before the Belmont City Council because the properties fall within their city limits. The council adopted a resolution on March 17th in support of this amendment. This went before the Gaston County Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on March 17th as well, which issued a letter of support for this amendment. The associated resolution and letter of support are available in your staff packet. The Gaston County Planning Board heard this request at its March 31st meeting and recommended approval by a unanimous 8-0 vote. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you or the board may have. We have Ashton Lamb with the Carolina Thread Trail and Tracy Smith with Daniel Stowe here tonight if you have any questions for them.
Does any citizens have a comment? And is there any questions from the Board of Commissioners?
I apologize. Now that the public hearing is closed, do I hear a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Sheehan, seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. All right. Before I get to Donnie, I want to go back real quick to the Century Communities Southeast LLC applicant. Jamie has given hers. You had a question.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. After much discussion back there, we would like to request a continuance until the June board meeting.
Is there a motion to continue? Seeing none, that fails, sir.
We would like to respectfully withdraw our application.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hicks. Getting to it, Donnie, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Trying to find out where you at on here. Citizens will now take comment on public hearing to approve the resolution authorizing Gaston County to participate in the Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure, CPACE, program. Mr. Donnie Hicks, Executive Director of EDC, will provide a brief overview once he has completed his comments. Citizens' comments will be taken. Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll also rely on Mr. Goldberg to fill in the gaps or turn it over to him, whichever he prefers. We were approached by the city of Gastonia and asked to carry this program forward. There's 30-some states in the U.S. that have taken advantage of this program. And it allows commercial property owners to install energy efficiency in some way. It could be savings of water, electricity, more green energy, better lighting, whatever it may be. And it's a funding program that would allow them to get lower interest rate financing for longer terms. We have no financial responsibility in this at all, but we do have to authorize the program for other people to use it. I can go into the nuance of how they do it, but the governor signed this into law a couple months ago. Mecklenburg County is working on it. Mr. Goldberg is acting as counsel to them to help them figure it out, which I'm enjoying. And so I'll answer any questions you have about that. But basically, you're authorizing the municipalities to go and work with developers on this program.
Any citizens' comments wishing to come about for this issue? Seeing none, any questions from the Board of Commissioners? Seeing none as well. If there are no additional comments, I would now declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Hope, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Mr. Hicks, thank you, sir. The Gaston County will now take citizens' comments on public hearing to approve the Gaston County Level 4 Incentive Grant pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1 to authorize Gaston County to enter into an economic development agreement with Project Nexus. Mr. Donnie Hicks, Executive Director of EDC, will provide a brief overview. Once he's completed his comments, citizens' comments will be taken. Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're here tonight to ask for a Level 4 grant for a project on which we're working. We are a finalist for this project. We have not been selected, but there are other communities still in the mix to be chosen for this project. Quick rundown of the attributes. They have committed to the state of North Carolina through their submittals to create 701 jobs at an average salary of about $52,000, which is above the county average. We've also had in the resolution that they anticipate investing $268 million. That number is actually larger than that. The total investment by the company will be about $435 million. $100 million of that will be to buy the existing facility, so it's already on the tax rolls. So that would leave us about $265 in personal equipment, and then another $60 to $70 in modifications of the building that they will buy. So their total investment is $435. Our net taxable would be $100 million or so less than that based on their investment. So still a large investment. We anticipate that they'll make a decision by June of this year and try to be operational first quarter of 27. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Any citizens wishing to comment on this issue at this time? Seeing none, anybody from the Board of Commissioners wishing to comment? Seeing none, if there are no additional comments, I will now declare the public hearing closed. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you. This concludes tonight's public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. As well as always, you're doing a great job, sir. The next item is approval of the business agenda. Are there any revisions to the agenda or any items need to be pulled? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve is
Motion made
received.
by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Approval of the minutes. You provided minutes for different draft minutes tonight for regular meeting 3/25/2025. Are there any revisions? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. The next item is citizens' recognitions. A portion of our board agenda is set aside for the citizens' recognition. The purpose is allowing citizens the opportunity to comment on and make suggestions. The comment period is not intended for or require commissioners or staff to answer any questions to provide a response. Those will be answered through the county manager's office as soon as possible. Citizens' recognition will be limited tonight to 3 minutes. As I call your name, please step to the podium and state your name and address. For the first citizens to speak tonight is Rose, is that Planer?
Planer.
Planer. Got it right again. Look at that, 2 for 2.
Plain with an R.
I'm 2 for 2 tonight, young
You are
lady.
2 for 2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Legal Department. I can only imagine the weight of the decisions you're facing, decisions that will determine how vital funding is allocated among so many of our incredible organizations in this county. Among them is Hope United Survivors Network. This is an organization with a team of extraordinary individuals who dedicate their lives protecting women and children, saving lives every single day. I'd like to ask each of you to pause for just a second. Picture a female in your life who you love, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a friend, a cousin. Now imagine her caught in a cycle of fear, trapped in a relationship defined not by love, but by power and control. This abuse may be physical, financial, psychological. It chips away at her confidence, her safety, her spirit. It isolates her from her support network, bruises her body, her mind, and entraps her in a never-ending loop of fear and anxiety. This is intimate partner violence. It affects 1 in 3 women in the United States. It is not a private issue. It is a public epidemic, and its ripple effects extend far beyond the individual. It reaches into families, workplaces, communities, and our economy. In 2018, the total economic impact of intimate partner violence in North Carolina alone was more than $500 million. And in Gaston County, an estimated 3,500 individuals experienced IPV, generating more than $10 million in associated costs: law enforcement, emergency services, healthcare, mental health, and beyond. Hope United Survivors Network meets this crisis head-on every day. They provide safety planning. They answer crisis calls. They arrange emergency services, coordinate with shelters. They ensure children are not forgotten. They provide transportation, housing assistance, job placement, advocacy in court. They support survivors as they navigate restraining orders, food assistance, work programs. They sit at hospitals. They meet with landlords. They collaborate with law enforcement to ensure quick response for calls for help. They monitor the county's most dangerous offenders in partnership with the DA's office. They lead high-risk prevention efforts, working on both a micro and macro level to save lives. In 2023, only 10% of survivors needed the support of the shelter. So what happens to the other 90%? Where do they turn for safety planning, legal help, advocacy, and prevention services? Without Hope United's life-sustaining support, where do they go? If these services are not sustained, if they disappear, then what happens to the women and children who are in danger today, tomorrow, and the day after? Commissioners, board, I urge you to recognize the profound impact this organization has in our community. I ask you, on behalf of the countless survivors who rely on this lifeline, to invest in their safety, their healing, their future. These services save lives. Please let them continue to do so. Thank you. Did I state my address? Okay, I just want to. I'm at 508 Maymont Drive in Cramerton. Thank you.
Ms. Christine Robinson.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Christine Robinson, and my address is 1907 Alpine Lane, Gastonia, North Carolina. First off, let me thank the board for taking the time to let me comment as well as listening. So I am here in regards to the funding for the county libraries. So I have visited the Gaston County Public Library ever since I learned how to read and got my first library card. When I heard that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners were considering cutting funding by removing the smaller branches in Mount Holly and Belmont, I was rather disappointed and knew I had to speak out. The library is more than a place filled with books or a computer lab. It is the heartbeat of our community. The library is a safe space for people to just exist, without having to worry about making a payment, subscribing to something, or having a purpose to just exist. This is thanks to the librarians and staff and volunteers who work tirelessly to provide those resources and space to make it possible. Over the years, I have checked out numerous books and DVDs at the library. I have used their services and attended events such as the Gaston County Public Library book sale that's going on this week. And these are just a few of the services that the libraries in our county provide. And these services and resources are essential to our community, and they help countless families and individuals to thrive and to grow into educated, empathetic, and charitable folks. Therefore, it is important that all of the library branches remain open. While I can't speak for everyone, I can attest that the library has been a solace for me, and that the people who run the libraries genuinely care about their community and are passionate about their work. Honestly, I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have the library in my backyard. On your website, the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, on your website, one of your goals and state objectives is to support development of cultural resources, including but not limited to museums, libraries, and historic resources. I would like to know how cutting the funds for the public libraries support this goal. Honestly, it doesn't, in my opinion. It will only result in job losses, lack of literacy, education, and technology, and increased isolation for our community. By cutting funds, it will be counterintuitive and does more harm to the Gaston County residents than good. Therefore, I urge you to reconsider and to continue to financially support the Gaston County Public Libraries and the wonderful librarians, staff, and volunteers that keep the libraries running and keep all the branches open. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to make sure I go back to what I stated earlier, that Belmont and Mount Holly are not going to be cut right now. It was a suggestion of how close proximity they were as an example, so everybody has that clear. So, and we have not had anything to consider because we haven't been given a budget yet. So, Brian, make sure you take notes on that. Thank you. The next person will be Miss Gina Robinson.
We're not related, by the way. My name is Gina Robinson. I reside at 300 Firestone Street in Gastonia. I'd like to thank you for letting me speak today and also for your explanation about the article, but I'm here anyway and I'm going to speak. I understand that you probably have lots of reports and spreadsheets and financial analyses and demographic studies that you're using when you determine where cuts should and should not occur. In the case of Family Justice Center and Hope United, each of those data points represents a survivor like me. A woman who had the man she loved, who was also the father of her children, served with a 50B and arrested for assault on the same day because she ultimately knew he'd eventually be the person that would kill them. 12 of my 19-year marriage was controlled by the man I had planned to spend the rest of my life with. I'm not sure I would be here today if it wasn't for my court advocate who helped me fill out my 50B paperwork. She also was the one who would call me and make sure I was ready to answer my questions and what to expect in court. She attended as many of my court dates as she could, and there were a lot. There were 11. I'm not sure I would be here today if it wasn't for the worker who did my intake for the shelter that day. I thought the kids and I were going to have to stay at the shelter until they could arrest him. She was reassuring and calm, and she knew exactly what I needed at that moment. I'm not sure I'd be here today if it wasn't for the licensed, professionally led support group and being able to see that I was not alone. I had no family here. He had isolated me from my family and friends. So to know that I was not alone and that there were other women going through the same thing was instrumental in my journey. I guarantee you that I would not have had the strength or bravery to do a Savvy Citizen podcast, the interview with the Gazette, interview with the WSOC, or speak at various churches or events without Hope United's encouragement. That team, some of them who are here today, provided the statistics and the details about available services, but they allowed me to tell my story. The Family Justice Center and Hope United Survivor Network are saving lives, as you know, not just those impacted by domestic violence. Those services, including but not limited to the shelter, are a necessary piece in the healing process of this population, myself included. They're removing barriers and reaching what is normally a very unreachable group. We are hidden and isolated. We're watched over by our abusers. We're tracked and monitored. Our finances are restricted. Our communications with others are carefully listened to, and the list goes on. Today, I am a statistic in the survivor column. Without these services, I could have been a statistic on the homicide column. So a spreadsheet that you could possibly be filtering through and find the numbers you want to support your budget, I just urge you to look deeper at those numbers. Thank you for the time.
Ms. Robinson, thank you for your courage to stand up and speak, but I want you to see those gentlemen in the back with those badges on. They're here to protect you as well.
Yes, sir.
At any cost.
Thank
you for coming. The next person is Miss Emily Thomas. Look at that, 3 for 3 tonight. I'm gonna get an award for that.
Oh, I tell you, you'll never let us live at night.
Hi, my name is Emily Thomason, and my address is 929 Harbor Islands Court, Gastonia. I feel like that's really loud. Is it really loud? Okay. First of all, I do understand that the library discussion is just a discussion at this point, but I still wanted to come say my piece. I grew up in Gaston County. I was a voracious reader starting at the age of 4. For Christmases and birthdays, I was always gifted books, but the rest of the year, I filled my appetite for reading with materials from the Gaston County Library. The closest branch to our home was Bessemer City, and I remember with pride the day that I got my own library card. The librarian at that point in time was named Sarah, and I felt like she was a member of our family because we saw her so often. When I had read all of the books in the children's section at Bessemer City, I would beg my mom to take me to the other branches to get different books. I thought that the main branch was the best, most magical place in the world. Now I have moved back here to raise my own daughter, and with her permission tonight, I am sharing that she has dyslexia. She struggled to find interest in books and reading, and the Union Road branch suggested box books. These are physical books with audio attached that help her read along and read age-appropriate material to stay in line with her peers. I wanted to buy some of those books for our home, but they are outrageously expensive, and so her access to those books is the Gaston County Library System. They have helped her spark an interest in reading, and now she asks to read together every single night before bed. On another personal note, my sister works for the library system. I am personally too cheap and lazy to buy a printer, so I go up and print everything I need at the library and help the funding. I see library employees when I'm up there helping patrons with applications, copies. They are handing out free seeds for the garden. They're answering general questions. And they are often suggesting very specific niche books to all of these patrons that they know by name. I have seen them put on programs that have such high attendance they have to be moved outside due to fire codes. I can promise you there is no lack of interest in our libraries. I also know that the library employees go to schools like Webb Street, H.H. Beam, Sherwood, and many more for story time. They are bringing story time to children who don't have parents or may not have parents with the ability to or time to read to them, and they are providing that. When I was a child, the library provided a whole world to me. Every child in Gaston County deserves the same opportunity, whether they live in Cherryville, Bessemer City, Belmont, or across the street from the main branch. The children in our county today deserve more opportunities than I had in the 90s, not less. I personally want my tax dollars spent on the library system, and I'm asking the board and county management to keep our libraries open and funded. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. And at the end, I'm going to ask all of you ladies and gentlemen who are here a question about the libraries as well. The next one will be Miss Amanda Memrick. And if she's next, if you want to bring her with you, you're fine as well.
My name is Amanda Memrick. I live at 104 Timber Ridge Road, Belmont, and I'm here to urge you to increase funding for the Gaston County Public Library System. Our public libraries serve all Gaston County residents, regardless of age, race, education, income, or ability, and are needed now more than ever. Gaston County's population has increased 6.2% from 2020 to 2024, yet the library's budget has not reflected this increase. Our library system received less than $6 million in funding from the $340 million County General Fund for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. That's less than 2% of the general fund and comes out to approximately $24.75 per resident or $64.80 per Gaston County household. If Gaston County receives enough revenue to cut the tax rate, as it has done in the past, surely it has enough money to adequately fund our libraries, which receive 42% less funding than the national average. In spite of funding challenges, the library provides thousands of dollars of benefits to Gaston County residents, all for the low, low price of a free library card. Getting a library card was one of the first things I did when I moved to Gaston County 21 years ago. My family has tallied countless hours in the library. We've attended author events, educational programs, and used the library to research school projects. We've planted vegetables with free seed library. We've accessed online resources to find a family-friendly movie. The library is the first place I turn to when my book club decides our book for the month. I even use the library to write the speech. Combining libraries will hurt our communities. Those in rural areas deserve library access just as much as someone who lives within a city center. Taking away those public spaces creates inequity in our county. I don't like tax increases as much as the next person, but our county needs to start valuing and funding the resources that help educate and improve the lives of its residents. Libraries do just that. Our libraries support education at all levels. Libraries teach a love of learning, starting with story time. Students access the library for resources, a place to study, and as a meeting place for tutoring programs. Adults seeking their GED can turn to the library for the materials they need to prepare. Our libraries benefit economic and workplace development. Libraries help residents prepare resumes, apply for jobs, and develop new skills through free job fairs and technology access. This support is critical for those who can't afford expensive resources but need to find employment. Our libraries provide access and equity. Libraries level the playing field. Not everyone has access to the internet or books in their home, but they can depend on the library for these tools. Our libraries build stronger communities. Libraries host book clubs, author talks, and cultural events that bring people together and enrich civic life. I urge you to continue supporting and expanding funding for the Gaston County Public Library System, because funding our libraries is an investment in our county's future. Thank you.
And next is Miss Amelia Memrick. You just speak. You don't have to give your address, young lady. You just speak what you need to say.
Okay.
Take your time.
Hi, my name is Amelia Memrick. I live at and I have come to talk to you about why libraries are important to our communities and should not receive budget cuts or be merged into tech labs. Our libraries are more than just buildings full of books. They are pillars of the community that many people rely on for resources. Merging libraries would prevent people from being able to access them since they are placed by population, making it harder for creativity and knowledge to be found within the community. When funding is cut, it will limit resources that will cause library programs to be cut, leaving individuals who heavily rely on them without a way to access these things. Individual libraries have different specialties that cater to different communities. For example, the Tech Library at Lowell is renowned for its technology and makerspace. I attended a 3D printing class to learn about how to use the 3D printer that they provide. Classes like these are important to the community. Libraries also help shape young minds. I made a petition at my school to show that the younger generation relies on libraries. I started this Friday before spring break actually happened because I just started to know about it then. So this is it. I have 23 signatures from one day. And personally, I have been going to my library since I was 4 months old, according to my mom, and it has played a huge part in my upbringing. I usually check out at least 8 chapter books at a time and return them within the week, so going to the library is very cost efficient. Also, when I did the science fair with my friend Annalise, the first place we suggested meeting at was to work on our project was the library because it is a calm space with lots of resources to work with, including printers, papers, books, etc. In conclusion, the library is a wonderful place for people of all ages. I'm asking you not to reduce the funding for libraries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next person is Miss Elizabeth Martin.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Martin. I live at 403 South Boyd Street in Gastonia. And when I found out about the possibility of the library funding being cut or libraries being merged, I was troubled about that and wanted to prepare something to speak about tonight. In the words of Henry Ward Beecher, a library is not a luxury, but is one of the necessities of life. According to the Pew Research Foundation, new research on library services, trends in reading habits, and patron needs in the digital age have been compiled into a series of reports. Some key points that I found are that Americans value public libraries as institutions that enrich their communities. I know that this is true of Gaston County residents as well. On any given day, the library is bustling with patrons of all ages. Libraries give us all opportunities to learn and excel by providing access to info and resources that they may not otherwise have. Libraries are especially valued by underserved communities. Services such as computers, internet, and job search assistance. Even something as basic as a printer or a copy machine is available to us at the local library. And I can say that I have personally used all of those many times. Branches should not be closed because oftentimes it is much more convenient to visit one's local branch than the main library, although I do agree that the main library is a wonderful place. The library is an invaluable resource for families and students. In my own experience, it was a regular homeschool activity that cost nothing for me and my children. Other school children visit the library with their parents or even on their own for pleasure and for homework help. I frequently see kids working with tutors in the afternoon. We would be doing a grave disservice to the citizens of our county if we reduce services to the Gaston County Library. Thank you.
Next to speak is Ashton Lamb. Oh, both of those two? Thank you. I wanted to ask a question just real quick of the people here from the libraries. I know it's a long night for you guys, but, you know, some of the things we try to look at and some of the questions you guys have had, you know, someone mentioned in their speech that they had no access. A lot of people don't have access to internet. What we were trying to do is provide more access to internet for people who could come in and apply for jobs and do things in different places. So if we had, for example, the Mount Holly and the Belmont close to proximity, 2 miles from each other, that one could be a learning lab for computers only, where we could really learn. But if you had something you did at that place, and say ebooks, or what it's called, Bob? Ebooks, where they come in, you get a book and you have it sent somewhere else, you can still have that book sent from the main library to Mount Holly, even though you went there. What we're trying to do is find ways to engage the community in better activities through learning activities such as technology, because technology will outrun us. So those are some of the things I want to say about the ebook story, getting books delivered, more access to internet. That's what we're trying to look at, how we can provide those. It was never to see how we could essentially close all the libraries. It's not feasible what we were trying to do. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that, because a lot of you did take the time to come out tonight. So we usually don't speak during that part, but just want to get that. Any items on the agenda? None were pulled tonight. For the consent agenda, items added by majority, none. What? The consent agenda? I've already voted on it. I'm kidding. Sorry, no items were pulled from the consent agenda, but we have to approve it. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda with no items pulled. Motion made by Commissioner Hovis, seconded by Commissioner Sheehan. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. If you guys don't know, the reason this does stay on track is because of that lady right there. Appointments. Commissioner Sheehan.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Bailey.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cloninger.
None.
Mr.
I'm going to
Host.
stay with the other three, and I have none either.
I have none as well. Reports. Commissioner Sheehan.
None at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Bailey.
I would just like to take this opportunity to say I really appreciate the Gaston County Police, the Sheriff's Office, and Gastonia City Police, and their presence and their enforcement in dirt bikes. And what I mean by that, I've spoken with the chief about it, and I've spoken with the sheriff about it, and I spoke with Trent Connor, the chief of police of Gastonia, about it. In my neighborhood, down South New Hope Road, we had an issue with dirt bikes riding on the main roads, 15, 14, 15-year-old, harassing people, threatening people. And just about a week ago, the Gastonia City Police confiscated either 2 or 3 motorcycles, cited the children and the parents. And after that, Friday night, there was actually an accident on New Hope Road with a truck and one of the dirt bikes. I think he was 14 or 15 years old. It's not just about getting the dirt bikes off the road. Dirt bikes, I grew up on dirt bikes. I love riding them in trails and rode them a lot of places, but not on the main roads. And I stress this to families out there and friends that has dirt bikes and children. Keep them where they need to be, please. I didn't want to get law enforcement involved in it. We had well over 100 complaints, and I just wanted to thank the county police, the sheriff's office, Gastonia City, for stepping up. Mainly just, most of it was just being seen, but they had to do some enforcement actions also. So I just wanted to say thank you for our law enforcement guys.
I wanted to mention that I attended Webb Street School 3rd Annual Car Show and Fundraiser. I also attended with others here Get to Know Gaston and Gaston County City Government event for several hours. I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for the lofts at the OJ Mill in Bessemer City. And then also attended the elected officials managers dinner that was sponsored by the Gaston Business Association. And then on April the 12th, attended the T-ball field dedication for Ann Martin, who is a former Parks and Recreation Director in Dallas. That's it.
Mr. Hovis.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment in reference to the library folks that are still here. I was very fortunate to have, I am very fortunate to have a 17-year-old granddaughter who is a junior in high school, and she volunteered from 10 until 4 at the main branch, working the book sale. Just for people's information, there was a line that wrapped almost all the way around the main branch, and it was very widely received. And even though some of the highlight of our discussion, and we discussed a lot of things, and trust me, the libraries were the least of our in-depth discussion during those work sessions, but it created a benefit, because I don't know that the book sale would have received as much recognition had it not been for the comments. I happened to sit on this board when we reduced the hours of service at the library, and I saw the public's irateness and disappointment at us doing that. It was at a bad time. It was a dark time for Gaston County. We're not in those dark times now, but at the same time we do have challenges. So we can't treat one department different than another. We have to look under every rock, turn over every stone, and try to understand what we're doing to be for our fiduciary responsibility for your tax dollars, all of your tax dollars. But I say that because something good did come out of those articles outside of you folks coming and speak to us. We'd love to hear from people. I have never not taken a phone call to my cell phone, which is published on the website, and will talk to anyone anytime they call. We are your servants. That doesn't mean we always agree with what your wishes are, but I, as your elected official from the Crowders Mountain Township, will explain to you and express to you my observations and my review, and I stand accountable to the actions and the votes that I take from this dais. But thank you for being here tonight. That's my comments.
I just want to be real brief and say I want to thank staff. It's been an ongoing process since I think back in December was our first meeting that we had together, and now we're almost into
The 11th hour.
May and June when we will actually make those. So everybody who understands how this process works, for 4 or 5 months, we take all the budgets from 35 different departments. We try to conduce those into what everybody's decision-making on this board tries to get. We try to talk about it. We've had several meetings, longer than usual on some of those. We only got 2 items through one day, and because of Bob, of course. Just kidding. But the staff does a great deal of work behind the scenes, and I want to say thank you, Matt, to your staff. It means a lot when you have people who are dedicated to what they're doing, and makes it easy when we have to have the questions. And this board has had lots of questions that we want answered, and actually we want them right then, and you guys are very prompt on getting those when you can. So thank you. I think everyone but Scott's done a good job, but that's pretty good. County Manager's report. County Attorney's report.
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you, sir. I have one item in other matters. I will now turn it over to Commissioner Cloninger, and she's going to be talking to the board. 1 second.
First, I would like to make comments before I make a motion, and I want to, I'm truly sorry that I made a mistake and did not vote against the Dallas High Shoals Water Interconnect project. For weeks, I've struggled with my decision. I'm not comfortable or in favor of using eminent domain of obtaining personal property. I know that my comments tonight will not change the outcome of this vote, but I wanted to personally express my apologies to those affected. So I would like to make a motion pursuant to Rule 28 of the board's rules. I request to change my vote for item of VI.B on March the 25th, 2025 agenda from aye to nay.
Commissioner Cloninger has requested a vote change on her previous item, this which requires unanimous approval from the board remaining members present. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? So it's 3-2. We'll move on from that item. Thank you, board, for that. This concludes tonight's meeting. Our next work session is Tuesday, May 13th at 6 p.m. here in the Harley B. Gaston Public Junior Forum courthouse. The county manager will present the FY26 budget for all of you people ready to know how budgets work. The budget recommendation at that time, that will be May 13th here in the Harley B. Gaston, 6 p.m. Get your popcorn. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please submit those comments or questions via telephone to Donna S. Spectacular Buff at 866-3196. Good night, Donna.